Mm. Good morning. So today is the 2-year anniversary of my diagnosis, and today I'm not feeling any kind of way about that. But the past 2 days I was feeling some kind of way. I don't know. I guess just emotional, and I don't really know what I'm emotional about. I think it's just like working through the trauma that happened then. Hi, look who woke up, and he brought his friend Jupiter. Mm. Good morning. Mm. How are you? Wow, you must have slept good. Your hair is wild. So my background's different. We moved the office. Um, we moved it because our house flooded last month. So much fun. Our kitchen flooded because the repairman made a mistake, and then our back bedroom flooded because the same repairman made a mistake. And just to put it simply, our landlord loves this repair guy. It's like, okay, seems like he's costing you more money in the long run. Anyway, so we took everything out, and our daughter has been saying she wants her own room with a door because she's had like this front room, which has really been a playroom because she's been little. And so now she has her own room with a door, and she really loves it. So we moved everything up here. Update. Scans still clear. I had a scan in May, I think, or I got my results in May. And it's now August. So May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So somewhere around November, I'll have another scan. That'll be the last of the scans twice a year, every 6 months. And then it'll be once annually for 3 more years. And then they release you to the world and say you're cured. That's how it works. So health-wise, I would say I'm still clearing chemo 2 years later. And what that looks like is I still have hot flashes. I still have times where I have like an internal sort of turmoil. And I don't mean like emotional. I mean, it's like a physical feeling. And I have an emotional response, I guess, or my emotions are irritated, is how I would say that. And I'm easily angered and other stuff that kind of came along when I was doing chemo, like taking prednisone with chemo and all that stuff. As far as medications, I take nothing. As far as herbs, I stayed on the herbs that I was on during chemo for probably, I don't know, a lot of months after, but at a lower dose. And then I took a break from that and then ordered it again. And then just like a couple weeks ago or last week, I took the last of that. And then other herbs have just been to harmonize whatever dysfunctions I see. The Western view with chemo is to inundate the body in a way that it can't cycle all the chemo out by the time you get the next chemo. I took a break from taking herbs just for like maybe a month now, but I've pretty much been on herbs almost 100% of the time with a couple of breaks here and there, but the breaks were just because, I was busy and I didn't have time to make an herbal formula because I'm making my own formulas with guidance from practitioners. I went back to work part-time in fall 2022 teaching. I teach at a school for acupuncture, Chinese medicine. And prior to that, I thought maybe I don't have chemo brain fog. Chemo brain, and really, I have to say I probably did. I just didn't have to use my brain in the way I had used it prior to going in the hospital. But looking back, and when I first went back into teaching a year ago, I was like, oh, maybe I did, maybe I did have some chemo brain. And then the next semester, my brain was firing a little bit more clear and fast and processing more quickly. And now it's definitely better. There's a part of me that wants to say that maybe I have some word recall issues. And I don't know if it's that or if it's just I haven't, used my brain as much, It's only been like a year back. But I guess after a year back, it seems like it should be long enough. So maybe there's some word recall issues. What else? During the time off, from the time I got out of the hospital to the time that I went back to teaching, I consistently walked 5 days a week or more. Very rare was it less than that. And then when I went back to teaching, my work brain kicked in and I have like this really strong work ethic. And so it would be like, wake up and work. And so went back to this old way this old mental pattern of like start working, produce, produce, produce. And then I wasn't walking as much and I wasn't doing self-care in the way that I had been. And then a couple times I tried to get back to that and my brain went back. So now that I've noticed that that's a mind pattern, really, not a brain pattern, a mind pattern. I'm conscientiously bringing exercise and meditation into my daily life, even when it's inconvenient, you know? So I don't know what else there is to tell you. Diet-wise, I've loosened up a little bit and am eating a more wide variety of foods. So remember, I was avoiding gas foods entirely. So soda, anything with beans, very few nuts, no cauliflower, asparagus, or broccoli. Eating a lot of leafy greens. So I still eat a lot of leafy greens, although a little bit less, but I have greens every day. I changed, though. I needed some more variety and flavor in my food, so I started researching some different cultures and stuff. That's kind of how I broaden or get interested in food again, is I'll just go, see what other cultures are doing. And I went with Japanese culture for breakfast. I don't know why I when I want to look up a new food or something, I go by, what do they do for breakfast? I don't know why I'm so curious about that, but what does that culture do for breakfast? Like I studied French breakfast for a while, and actually I have a colleague who's French, and I asked her, I said, what do French people eat for breakfast? I mean, I know what the cookbooks say and these American websites, but what do French people actually eat? And so, actually, European breakfast is a lot like American breakfast. Like meat and eggs with a bread, really common. Unless you're in the city, and she said, and then you might just wake up and maybe not have an early breakfast, but have like a cappuccino hour croissants, because they really do come around with carts or have carts around that you can, like a kiosk type thing. So Japanese breakfast, I love. Oh my gosh. So I've been eating a lot of miso soup for breakfast. And even today I was making it and I didn't really feel like it was going to be delicious. And then I took the first bite and I was like, oh my God, it's so good. So today I have some tofu with like a light cabbage, like a Savoy type cabbage, bok choy. I threw a few carrots in and miso. I think that's it. There's some onion in there and garlic and ginger. Yummy. All right. Spiritually, again, like when I went back to work, I just sort of like left the self-care to the side, or just when it was convenient, like when I had time, which is not the way to do it, by the way. Spirituality should take a front seat. Everything else should take a back seat. And so as I went back to that, like my knowing sort of started to show up again. And yeah, the guidance is so clear. So back 2022, late 2022, I had some energy work done. And I had my middle jowl cleared, which was interesting in itself. And right around that time, I had already scheduled to work with a friend of mine who I'd been working with the whole time. I've talked about her before. And so I already had an appointment with her scheduled. And then I had an acupuncture appointment with a friend of mine who's a lot like me, like very spiritual, listening to guidance and allowing that to influence treatment. And so things had to get juggled around. And then I saw the lady who does the energy work first, and she does a very specific and unique and powerful type of energy work that I don't know how to call it. And there is like a thousands of years lineage of training that behind her that she's getting support from. And so she did a type of work using a tool, an energy tool, a physical tool that guides energy. And in that process, she was like in like a meditative state, and so was I, and I was seeing like stuff, like basically like really I saw a flower here in my middle jowl, upper abdomen. And as she started to do her work, it started to get like pulled out, and it was like moving. It had 5 yellow petals, and your solar plexus chakra, which is that chakra, is yellow. But as it came out, there was like this really dark, dirty root, a really thick root with lots of small roots coming off of it. And it just went and kept going and going and going for a long time. And then as I saw it be completely removed, she stopped. And I thought, wow, that's cool that, I saw it end, and that's when she finished. So like there was, and I didn't tell her anything. I just let her do her thing. And I was just like envisioning it leaving. That's where my cancer was there in that spot. And then she did some other things. And she was able to tune into some ancestral stuff And the way that she explained it like made sense to me based on what I know about my family lineage. So from there, a couple weeks later, I saw my friend. And when I saw my friend, I had this incredible spiritual experience, this non-physical, eternal experience that's really hard to convey. Because if I told you what I saw in my mind, it would be so simplistic compared to what I felt. But it wasn't intentional. We actually talked for most of the session, and then she said, well, let's do a little meditation, because I felt like a lot of chaos energy. And the meditation was simply to calm. I interacted with some spirit guides that I didn't know I had. And I had an experience of oneness that for 3 months after that I longed for. And I felt so homesick instantly when I engaged with my spirit guides. Like there was like a instant homesickness and an amazing, massive amount of love and peace. And I instantly wanted that way more than the experience of being human. And there's more to that meditation, but that's the main thing that I took away. And for like a month, I tried to meditate myself back into that, and I couldn't do it on my own, and I haven't done it since. And then for like 2 more months, I felt like this desire to experience that, and it led to like kind of a depression. And different than any kind of depression or depressive feelings I've had before, this was like a longing for something that's not available on earth. And then at some point, some other things that needed to be resolved came in. Like the bullying experience actually had like this little piece still lingering, and then something else was going on. And this actually had nothing to do with me. But I needed to like wake up to like it has nothing to do with me. And so then I realized that if I'm holding on to anything, it's me holding on to it. That's it. And so I let those two things go, and they just dissipated. So the bullying thing, it really has, I'm going to say like this much charge to it, where before it was like huge. And this other thing it has nothing to do with me. It just disappeared. And the bullying actually doesn't have anything to do with me either. That was that kid doing whatever he did, just doing what he does in life. And then a few weeks after that meditation, I had rescheduled a couple times with a friend of mine to get acupuncture. And interestingly, it rescheduled right on the winter solstice. How perfect. And we did a window of heaven point. So my friend was coming in to like do a point that's on the chest right here. In my mind, I saw this point, and I said, do the point that you're guided to do. And she went right here and did the point here on both sides. And just so you know, like we know how to needle around things. We don't just stick needles in bodies. All right, so she does those points, and then she leaves me for a while, and I had this like, I was coughing because it was physically clearing my throat first. And then she pops in and she's like, you okay? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm okay, I'm just coughing. And then I started to have like a deeper experience, and it was still like in the physical. And then she came in and I was like, I feel like I could be done. And she goes, will you stay longer? I feel like you're supposed to be here longer. I said, yeah, I can stay longer. And so I stayed. And then I had this incredible spiritual experience. And the only way I can explain it is to tell you what I saw. And I've not shared this with a lot of people, just a few, because there's a lot of people who aren't going to get it. But I was on a beach, and if it wasn't Ireland, it was Scotland, like somewhere there. I don't know why I know that, I just do. And it was overcast, like the sky was completely overcast. Like if I had to choose if it was dusk or dawn, I would say it was dawn, early morning before the sun really breaks the horizon. And I was next to an ocean. And I see these 4 swords, like Excalibur, I don't know, Knights of the Round Table sort of swords, be stabbed into the ground, creating like a square because the shape of the swords. And then from the ground, a massive divine beam of light went up to the clouds. And first out came a Pegasus with a rider holding a golden staff. And it was a Pegasus of light. It wasn't like a horse that you would see, and it went straight up. And out of the staff came immense bright light in the 4 directions. By the way, the swords were the 4 directions. And then 4 Pegasuses came out, all with riders, all made of light, in the 4 directions. What does that mean? I don't know. But I was like, wow. And that's all there was to that. And then when my friend came back in and took out the news, I told her that, and she said, we lost a friend some years ago, back in like 2014. A friend of ours passed away very young. She was only 33. She died of cancer. Okay, so maybe this is coming together right now. And my friend who had just done the acupuncture on me said, after she died, she came to me riding a Pegasus. And the Pegasus was flapping its wings, flying backwards. And our friend was going, "It's okay. It's okay. It's okay." Oh, so maybe something about this is to tell me that it's okay. I don't know much about Pegasus. Thank you for watching. I love you. I hope you have an amazing life. Yum. Mmm.